Hey, what's up, y'all? It's the Mad Hatter logging in, that dude y'all love to hate, and I'm here to talk about more black shit. Today I'm going to talk about Freddie Gray and the update on the Freddie Gray case. Now, if you don't know about Freddie Gray, he was a man from West Baltimore, one of the worst places to grow up in the United States, one of the worst ghettos, period. You know, Chicago, we talk about Chicago, parts of New York, but the shit that goes on in Baltimore is pretty bad. I mean, you've seen The Wire, and I don't even know if The Wire really gets at how bad Baltimore is. Some parts of Baltimore, especially West Baltimore. So Freddie Gray was a guy in Baltimore, troubled young man, and he ran into, the police officers. He got into some problems with the police, and so he was running away from the police officers. And what we see from video is that when police officers confronted him, all of a sudden, he was hurt. We don't know why he was hurt, but he looked in the video. You could tell that he was majorly hurt. So the police officers take him in the back of the van as he's hurt, and they strap him up. Basically, they bind his arms and legs, and they don't buckle him in. So some people are saying this was a rough ride, which is what police are known to do, where they put you in the back and they kind of hit hard turns at high speeds to knock you around in the back of the van. And apparently this is what happened with Freddie Gray, and he died because he had a fatal spinal injury. And the police officers stopped at many different stops before they went to jail or before they gave him any medical attention. Now, some would say that Freddie Gray was already dead before this incident because of the socioeconomic position he was placed in Baltimore. Baltimore has one of the worst lead poisoning situations in the United States, and yet people still live here and people are suffering, and lead is lethal and it destroys the development of the brain. I mean, look at the Flint, Michigan lead crisis. Baltimore's had a lead crisis for I don't know how long, so there's that. So when people talk about, black people and how black people need to take more responsibility for their actions, or black people are just lazy, look at the people who are just trying to get along in Baltimore, and look at what they have to deal with. They have to deal with the fact that their neighborhood is dangerous, and they're being poisoned. So anyway, Freddie Gray died. The officers at first weren't brought to trial, and so what ended up happening is that, the city went crazy. They started looting, they started, burning things down. You know how the deal goes. There was no justice. So Marilyn Mosby, she is a Baltimore state attorney. She gets involved and she looks at evidence. At the time, the coroner found that there was evidence of a homicide, and so that's when Marilyn Mosby, based on the evidence, went ahead and started indicting these officers. And she went as far as to prosecute these officers past the grand jury. But again, today, July 29th, we have found out that the cases have been dropped. There were 3 more cases, and the charges in those cases have been dropped. So Marilyn Mosby says that they've been dropped because there was really, no hope that any convictions would come about. Not necessarily because the evidence wasn't there, but as she talks about, because the way the system is made up, it's there to protect the people who already hold power. And these people in Baltimore are voiceless for the most part and powerless. The police officers, the courts, all that whole system is well funded and well connected. So you have black people in Baltimore who have been put into some of the worst conditions in the United States. You have them fighting against the American justice system, which was made to, at least initially, disregard blacks. Who do you think is going to win? She talks about that. She says that, we can have different scenarios where we run 100 different scenarios and we're going to come to the same conclusion. So, yeah, there's definitely that. So let me read a quick passage or two from this Baltimore Sun piece. Prosecutors dropped all charges Wednesday against 3 Baltimore officers accused in the arrest and death of Freddie Gray, bringing to an end one of the highest profile criminal cases in the city's history with 0 convictions. Baltimore State Attorney Marilyn J. Mosby acknowledged the long odds of securing convictions in the remaining cases following the acquittal of 3 other officers on similar, though more serious charges. Now, I want to read a quick quote from USA Today, or at least not a quote, but an excerpt from their story, because I think this really puts it into perspective. The lead of this story says, from the USA Today, from reporters Ryan Miller and Greg Topo, they say, prosecutors don't believe Freddie Gray caused his own death in the back of a police van, but no one will go to jail for it. And as I said earlier, I believe I said earlier, the coroner said that this was a homicide. So you have the coroner saying this is a homicide. You say prosecutors who don't believe that Freddie Gray caused his own death. Even the defense, you know, they don't even have to say what they're about to say or what I'm about to tell you they said. But even the defense said that this was an accident. But even an accident, like you can't, you know, get behind the wheel of a car and crash into somebody by making a left turn before you're supposed to make a left turn and say, oops, this was an accident. You know, let's just walk away from this, no charges. Like, really? That's not, no, like in any other case, you can't just say things are an accident and then get away with that. This is what the defense is saying, right? So that tells you how crazy that is. Now, on the other note, how can this be ruled a homicide, but there be nobody at fault? So if Freddie Gray wasn't responsible for his own death, which is what the court proceedings came to the conclusion of, then how is there nobody convicted? How is nobody at fault? Unless the police are already there to be protected to begin with, unless they're already on the side of the system. And this is how difficult it is to prosecute police officers. So also, the police officers more than likely are going to get their job back. That's what the Baltimore Sun article also alluded to. They're going to get their jobs back. They might face some discipline, but they're going to be right there doing what they were doing. So are any real changes being made? Now, the last thing I want to finish on is, can you imagine if Freddie Gray was a white mayor, or the son of a white mayor, or the son of a white judge? Now, if this was an accident, right? If police officers came to the suburbs and killed a white suburban teen and said, and most of these police officers, mind you, are black police officers from a different neighborhood, and they killed a white teen, would we be as accepting of the verdict if we said, oops, it was an accident, you know, we put him in the back of a van, you know, we bound his legs and arms, and he broke his neck, so, you know, oops, an accident, let's all go home. I have a feeling that we wouldn't view this the same way if it was that instance. So that's where I want to leave that. You guys, holla at your boy. If you like it, leave a comment. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. But that's it.